spooky episode of Monster Men.
A subdued arg. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. So we have a special super duper treat today. We are going to talk about ghosts and the paranormal, specifically the super haunted, super creepy Poveglia Island in Italy, with somebody who's actually been there. She's an author. She's an all-around amazing human being. Her name is J.H. Moncrieff. You might have heard her on Jim Harold's Cryptid Report recently, talking about, what's the name of that sea monster again? How did you say the name?
The Neckin.
The Neckin, which looks like it's spelled Nukin or Knockin, right?
Welcome to Scandinavia.
She told us all about the Neckin, and now she's going to tell us a little bit about Poveglia Island, which I had my daughters do research for me because they are love the paranormal, especially ghost stories, especially one of my daughters. So I figured I'd get 2 bullet points. It's like pages and pages of stuff. I'm like, I can't go through all this. But if you could, why don't you tell us a little about what the island is and what it's famous or infamous for?
Okay, well, it's probably the most ultimate horror movie, but in real life. So it almost sounds too bizarre to be true, but I swear it all is. So Basic started out as a battleground. So that's where the deaths start coming in, and that was back in Roman times. And then it was used as a plague dumping ground. So all these people who had the plague and who may have had the plague, or maybe someone just didn't like them that much, got dropped off there to die. And there were all these mass graves. And then that happened again for a second time. There was another episode of the plague in Venice. And so more people were quarantined on there. And then, as if that wasn't enough, then they had to bring an asylum in and build an asylum there and do all these unethical medical experiments, like lobotomies without any sort of anesthetic. And as if that wasn't bad enough, then the doctor who was doing these creepy experiments on people was either was pushed or jumped or had a ghost kill him by pushing him off this bell tower.
Oh my
So
God.
yes, exactly, right?
That's
We've got all
awesome.
the elements there. And then in the 90s, it was used for raves, which is pretty creepy too. So
Now, when it was an asylum, that was in the early 1900s, right?
yes, that's correct.
And then it just laid abandoned for decades until naturally they decided to just pump some music and do some E.
Yeah, I think it's had a reputation for a while. So I think there's been waves of people that have gone and tried to see if they could see anything or experience anything. And now apparently a rich businessman owns it, and you're technically actually not supposed to be there. Like, you're not supposed to go there without his permission. But
It's private property.
yes, yes, but it's pretty run down.
That's
So how
never
did you
stopped
get-
us.
No. How did you get there?
Not easily. I was supposed to be a part. I finally found this tour that did a tour of all the Venetian islands, and they were supposed to drop me off there and come back and get me, and they stood me up. So I had to make my way back to my hotel in Venice, which, if you've ever been to Venice, is always challenging. So I made my way back to the hotel, and I was talking to the hotel manager, and he got a water taxi to come right to the hotel and pick me up. So it cost 100 euros there and back. So 200 euros total to go to this creepy island. And that's how I got there.
Was it worth it?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Did you-
yeah.
Did you go alone or did you have people with you?
No, I was by myself.
How
Yeah,
long
actually,
did you
this
go
was
for?
perfect. This was perfect. I swear this happened. When he dropped me off, he said, "You realize you are alone on this island." And the sky opened up. It's just like kaboom. And there was this huge, just downpour instantly when he said that. So I didn't even have a chance to go, do I want to go in the creepy haunted buildings? I had to just run in there without even thinking it through.
Right. That's crazy.
Time out. So you went to the most haunted island in the world by yourself. So A, what time of day was it? And B, how long did you stay?
It was on my birthday, too. It was my gift to me.
You don't like yourself, do you?
I had a great time. Went up on top of the haunted building and sang happy birthday to myself. It was
You're
about
the coolest person ever, by the way.
Thank you. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was there till almost 4:30. So
Okay,
two and a
cool.
half hours.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say 4:30 in the morning. I was gonna say, wow, now that's dedication. If you were there all night long.
Well, and this is the thing too. I was so unprepared. I didn't, well, A, I don't have a smartphone, so I didn't have any way to contact anybody if something happened. And the other thing is I didn't bring a flashlight because it was the middle of the day, but because all the windows were either boarded up or all these trees had grown over them, it was dark. So a lot of time, all I had was my camera flash to see, and I kept picturing those horror movies where someone takes a picture and someone jumps out in the flash. It was like I was terrified the whole time.
Yeah, I would be thinking that. You ever see that movie Lights Out?
Yes,
You
yes,
think, every time the light goes on, it's a little bit closer, a little bit closer.
yes.
Oh my God. How big is the island? Is it a relatively small island?
It is relatively small, but I was so disappointed. One of the things I wanted to do is there's this area where you go over a bridge and you get to where the mass graves are. And I couldn't figure out how to get over there because it's so overgrown with thorns and trees. And so I was kind of stuck in this little area where the asylum and these other buildings are. I think they used to be chapels and stuff like that. It's hard to tell now
Mm.
what they are, but there is a crematorium in one. It was kind of creepy.
All right, so wait. Before I cannot wait to hear about what happened there. But did you arrange with the taxi guy to come back at a certain time, or were you just going to call somebody when you were done?
She couldn't.
No, I couldn't. This is the cool thing is having the hotel manager set this up for me was he now knew where I was and when I should be back. Before that, I didn't have that plan. I was relying on this tour that never showed up. But the way he arranged it is the guy didn't get paid until he dropped me back at the hotel. So that was good insurance that he was
Okay.
actually going to come back.
And he was getting paid well, so I'm sure he made sure to get you.
Yes, I would say, because it's not a long trip. It's maybe 20 minutes each way. So $100 for 20 minutes, not bad.
Pretty good.
Yeah, you could have used Uber. Might have been cheaper.
The Uber water
Do they have
tax.
water Uber?
Uber.
This could be where we start our new business, Jack.
There you go. So what happened? Talk to me. This is amazing.
Um, I was, I'm not a person that scares easily at all. Like no horror movies scare me, unfortunately. I was terrified the whole time. I was so excited when the boat pulled up, and then as soon as I was about to get off, I just had this feeling of dread come over me where I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. And the first building I ran into was that one that's nebulous. I'm not sure what it is, if it's a chapel or if it was a hospital or what it was. But once I got used to the fact that the roof was gone and all this rain was coming in and it was hitting these old metal contraptions and the leaves were rustling and that, once I realized it wasn't people walking around or, it made a lot of weird noises. Even like the lagoon crashing against the side of the island made a weird noise. So once I realized that they were all normal sounds with rational explanation, I was like, okay, I'm fine. And then you go in the asylum, and there's something about that place. I felt really a heaviness in my stomach the whole time I was in there, and I was incredibly uncomfortable there. So I kept forcing myself to go there because I thought if anything's going to happen, it's going to be there.
So, did you think that you felt? Because to me, if I was going on an island alone, I would think of the thousands of people that were buried there in these communal graves. Now, to me, that would be probably I would in my head, but that's where I'm going to get that feeling. If I'm even probably when I step on the island, I'm going to feel that. But you're saying the asylum is a really
Yeah.
got your hairs up.
Well, yeah. Well, you think how many people were tortured there and how many people probably died in there and how many people suffered in there. I think that's part of it. I never felt comfortable there. And I made myself go upstairs that were half missing. And, like I walked around the whole place and there were all these long hallways. And, if you've ever been going down a hallway and you feel kind of almost that weight, that all these doorways, you kind of like feel like there might be someone in there. Mm-hmm. Imagine now in the dark, right? So you're in the dark and there's all these doors going all the way down these hallways and you just didn't know. And there was one point when I was walking past and the whole time I had to be pretty much talking to myself like, you're okay, you're fine, we're good, we got this, okay, like nothing scary, no, you're fine. and I kind of saw a flicker of the corner of my eye when I was passing one of these doorways, and I thought, no, it's my imagination. And I looked back, and this pigeon like jumped out, and I just like we both, I screamed my head off.
So you had like the full horror movie experience. You had crashing thunder and animals coming out
Jump
at you.
scares.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of jump scares. Like, they had caution tape inside the windows, and the wind would make it blow, so you would see this thing kind of flutter out at you. But the one thing that did happen, and this could have a rational explanation, at the end, I was feeling kind of brave because he was coming to get me in 10 minutes. How bad could it be? So I was in the asylum in the dark, and I said, "Hello, is there anyone here?" And then I thought, "Oh, this is stupid." I said the same thing in Italian. And as soon as I did, there was this loud woof sound, like right outside where I was. And yeah, it could have been the place settling, but
Right.
I just decided to spend my last 10 minutes waiting outside. It was pretty scary. But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't tried to enhance my photos, but I didn't get anything on my photos. And I was hoping I would. I took tons of pictures, hoping I'd see something later, but
Right.
Now, when you were walking around, we've been to a couple of, spooky places, and one of the concerns is always like, is the floor gonna like cave in? The integrity of the buildings. Were we ever worried about that kind of stuff, or was it pretty solid?
I was testing my steps every time before I put my weight on it, especially the stairs, because the stairs literally were like, I've got one picture where you see my feet on this tiny little piece that's left, and there's this big drop down. Like, I took really dumb risks. But I was really careful taking them. Like, there were pictures I took where there's this huge hole in the ground, in the floor, like huge, massive, where almost all the floor is gone. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that for sure.
You can't do this alone. I'm going to tell you now, don't do that again. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I've heard that. But what a great story, right?
Oh, it's a
Absolutely.
fantastic story, and it's
Yeah.
great that you can tell it.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been the same experience if other people had been with me. Although it would have been smarter to take other people, but I didn't go up the tower. The tower had one of those, like, the ladder was more of like this really thin rusted metal spiral going up, and I didn't get a good feeling there either, and it was boarded up, like the windows were boarded up, so I'm like, even if I do climb this thing and I survive, I'm not going to be able to see anything, so
Yeah.
I didn't bother.
Now, are the asylum buildings really the only thing still standing? Is there anything else on the island?
Oh, there's lots. There's there's that other building I ran into, and then there's kind of like this big, what used to be an industrial kitchen, and that's where the bell tower is. But there's still like lots of crap, like old industrial sinks and stoves, and people have just trashed it. So there's stuff everywhere. And then there's all these little boat docks too, and sheds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there were some even farther past where I was able to go. So there's quite a few buildings there still.
Oh, and are any of them pre-20th century, you think? Or is it all maybe nature probably claimed everything before then?
Yeah, I think they're pretty modern. Like, I think that would have been like the early 1900s. I'm guessing most of the stuff was built.
Right. Yeah, that's what we call modern.
Yes.
In Italy, in Europe, that's modern. Oh, it's 100 years old. It's brand new.
Yeah. But they did. I mean, people have told me before I went, they're like, oh, you can't go on the island. And people, like the fishermen won't go there because they keep finding pieces of bone in the water and that. But there's fisher nets all over. Like when you come, like the whole front is just flanked with nets. They look old,
Right.
but they're there. And yeah, the guy didn't have a problem taking me there for 200 euros. Like,
That
it's
feels
just
like it feels like a Scooby-Doo plot, Say it's haunted so that I can get all the good fishing in.
Exactly. But there is something there. Like, I'm a little bit sensitive to that stuff, and I definitely felt in the asylum there is something, for sure. What it is, I don't know, but...
Right. Well, I mean, they say places like that where there is a lot of trauma and emotion, it kind of hangs around for a while.
Okay, so wait. So the million-dollar question is, you did not see a ghost, but you may have heard something and you felt feelings, but like you didn't see like a monk walk into a room or something like that, or
The Mad Monk of Poveglia.
a little girl in a window waving to you and then she's not there. Or...
Well, and even at the end where I was waiting outside, I was like doing this pan where I was filming the windows with my camera because I almost expected something like that.
Hmm.
Nothing. But I don't know how common that is because whenever I have had a paranormal experience, it's been auditory. I've never seen anything. I've always heard things. So I don't know.
If you want to see something, come to my house.
Really? I
Yeah,
so, I'm
I, I
so there.
I have a boy that lives in this house.
And you've actually seen him.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a ghost. When you see him, you see like a living boy. It's the weirdest thing.
That would be so cool.
So
You know what? It is because he's not scary. He's the one kid I don't have to pay anything for, so I don't mind him.
Does he ever come on the podcast? Does he ever just sit behind you?
Jack, when he comes to my house, is always like, I never see this kid. And was it last year, or the year before? I was vacuuming, and I was alone in the house. I didn't realize it at the time, and I saw somebody walk right behind me, and I thought it was one of my kids,
Ooh.
and it was the boy. And Jack came like 10 minutes later, like he just missed it.
Oh,
so then usually we do a couple of shows and then we'll watch a horror movie and have a scotch and the sun will like be setting, so we'll start watching a movie and it's light and it's getting dark and inevitably I'm just watching the movie kind of looking like and seeing it and I'm like, and this is why I admire you so much because you said you went to this island by yourself and I'm like, if I see a little boy walking across the thing, there's going to be a jack-shaped hole in the wall, where I go running, screaming, and never coming back.
Now, you said you've had real ghost experiences. Can you tell us at least one? I know that our listeners would love it.
well, maybe I'll tell you the museum one because I haven't told Jim Harold that one yet, and I have witnesses for that. Not that they're here, but you can verify.
I'll get some
Exclusive.
affidavits sent out. Hmm.
So I used to be the public relations person at a museum here, and I found out pretty quickly on that it was haunted. It was sort of the thing people whispered about or talked about, but they didn't ever publicize or didn't really want anyone to know because there were so many scientists working there, and of course the scientists are like, oh, ghosts, no, they can't exist. So people were keeping it pretty quiet, and then I come on, I'm like, are you kidding me? This place is haunted and you're not talking about it. So right away I'm like, media releases, media's in, everything, right?
Right.
And so back then these real life reality ghost hunting shows were on. And so I thought, okay, that's cool. I'm going to do that. I'm going to like take reporters through the museum at night and we're going to have a medium and all this stuff. And, the guy with the probe and the whole bit, all this equipment. And so I did that. And the first time I did it, it was very small scale. It was just me, a print reporter who had a little audio tape recorder, and a security guard. And we were going through this part that's known to be haunted. It's called the Old Town. It's like a recreation of like Winnipeg in the 1900s. So it's got like all these cobblestone walkways and these buildings and stuff that were reclaimed from that time. So it's just like walking through this little abandoned town with all these faceless mannequins. So it's kind of creepy on its own. It doesn't really need to be embellished.
Right.
And we totally had the lights out. So the security guard had a lantern and we were walking down this like wooden boardwalk and we felt and heard someone very definitively coming up behind us. Like you could hear the like very heavy soled men's shoes. You could feel the boards kind of shift. And we turned around and there was no one there. And all of us heard it. And you hear us just go nuts on her tapes. It was like the most terrifying thing. But yeah, absolutely nothing there. But we all heard it, all three women. So
Did you feel anything as well? Because I've noticed that the experiences I've had, I feel it before I see it or hear it. And that feeling affects the experience itself.
yeah, like the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and it's almost like something's tightening the skin on your back. Like you kind of, yeah, we
Like
definitely got that.
Terror, oh my God, this isn't good.
Yeah.
I want to run.
Yeah, and we also saw there was another part again. It's pitch black. We walked past a stairway in the same area of the museum, and I saw two blue lights in the middle of the stairway. And we just kept walking, and then it's like it takes your brain a minute to process. So I was like, wait a minute. Those aren't supposed to be there. There's not two blue lights in the middle of the stairway. What's going on? And so I started to go back, and the reporter like just dug her nails in me and went, shh, you saw that too? I was kind of hoping you'd see it. So I went back and I looked and I went up to that stairwell right in the place that I saw the lights, and I looked around. Was there anything that could reflect anything? Was there any source of light? Nothing, nothing. Couldn't find anything to explain it. So
That's lights. I mean, look, there's so much stuff out there, man. And I think there's a lot that happens that we don't even notice. Like you said, it takes you a while for your brain to catch up, and if something happens and you get distracted,
yeah, and I
it's
also
gone.
think there's almost like whenever I've had some sort of experience like that, it's almost like the brain so dramatically rejects it. Like it just there's this built-in defense mechanism with us, I think, where we, will rationalize it, and it's like no, because I've had ghosts like bang on all my kitchen cupboards in front of me, like very like bang, 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 bang. And it's like, was it construction? Was it, like you
I
try
know.
so hard to come up with some reason for it, but
I want to hear more about that.
oh, okay.
And Jack does not want to be in that kitchen ever.
Okay. Well, when I was 17, unfortunately, my best friend died. She was also 17. And I moved to a small town in between the years of high school and college just to work for a year somewhere else. And I really felt her around me at that time. And I'm not sure if that's because I was living on my own for the first time away from all my friends or what it was. But she always wanted to get out of the town. So I'm thinking maybe she just came with me. I don't know. And I was in my little apartment galley kitchen during the day, bright sunlight, not spooky at all. And I had one of those like portable stereos, and I was playing a mixtape, dating myself now. I was playing a mixtape that she'd made for me, and it played her favorite song, which was in the middle of the tape. And then, even though I'd never had a problem with the stereo or the tape before, it auto reversed itself, fast forwarded, auto reversed itself again, and it started playing the song again.
Oh,
I just kind of stood
Holy
there and
crap.
yeah, that can't happen naturally.
Okay, so for our younger listeners or viewers, auto reverse was the greatest thing that happened to cassette tapes, where the tape would flip itself by itself at the end of the tape, or that you could click a button and play the other side of the tape instead of manually taping it, taking out. So that was a huge piece of technology. But to flip and repeat a song like that does not happen. That's crazy. What you just said.
Yeah.
And then it started playing the song, and I said, Darby? And my kitchen cupboards went nuts. Like, it was one of those little galley apartment kitchens, so I had a line of cupboards, and there was this loud bang, 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 like one way and then the other way. And I ran into my bedroom, and I just said, Darby, I can't handle this right now. I'm not ready for this. And it stopped.
Wow.
But then, to make it even cooler, years later, I was a journalist. I was interviewing a medium. I had to interview all these different people about what happens when we die. And I was interviewing this medium, and she didn't know anything about me or my stories or anything. I was interviewing her over the phone. And she started talking about this teenager who had committed suicide. And whenever his mom tried to play his favorite CD, it would only play his favorite song. And she said, yeah, teenagers tend to come through electronics. So I just got chills. And
Yeah. Oh my
it
God.
was very creepy because a CD is even weirder than a cassette. Cassettes are kind of, they can have glitches, but
I got chills.
yeah.
The reason also being, you said about the banging, the night my father passed away, I decided to sleep at my mom's house, and I stayed downstairs. I was on the couch, and I was watching TV, and he has a stereo cabinet, and it had a glass cover, protecting all his equipment. And as I was sitting there, something went boom, hit that glass as hard as can be. I jumped off that couch. And I was just like, like looking around, I thought something like fell from the TV or something, and there was nothing. And I literally went, I said, I hear you, Dad. And then I went to sleep. Now, the next day I told my mother about that. I said, yeah, the glass, something like hit the glass really loud. She said to me, oh, that happens. Cut to 2 years later, she goes, that never happened before. She goes, I didn't want you to be upset. I was like, well, it was too late for that point. I mean, I was upset when it happened.
So the thing about the cabinets, I've never had an experience. But I know a lot of people who, like my colleague here, who have plenty of experiences. And a dear friend of mine, a woman I worked with, who's one of the greatest people I know. She is like a financial, very sound business person. So she's not like a Wiccan living in a hut somewhere. She's like a very accomplished person. Has several stories of the paranormal, and one of them involved, I believe it was her and her mother, and there was like a commotion in the kitchen that they were both like very unnerved by, and they went down and it was like cabinets disrupted and things like that. So when you said that, I was like, oh my god, you're not the first person I've heard of kitchen disruption. And then I go right back and thinking of that scene in The Sixth Sense with the the woman in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, with all the drawers filled out.
Yeah.
Well, and even now, like whenever I talk about it, I know it happened, but it feels like a story I'm making up because it's so bizarre. Like it's so, you almost don't want to believe that it happened.
Right.
And I feel bad about my reaction because if that was my friend, I've never heard from her since. So I wish I'd reacted better.
I have a couple of friends who feel that birds are either conveying or like is their relative communicating with them. One person I think is like a hummingbird when she sees, and another friend of mine who's like a total like not spiritual or ghostly kind of person, like had an experience with like his mother's favorite bird randomly like at the right moment. So like I have two different people from two different parts of my life who equate like bird timing and appearances with their loved ones reaching out to them. And for me, the closest I've ever come is dreams. I've had dreams where I've had friends who passed away from car accidents, or I have had some suicide or relatives. But the closest I've ever come is waking up and had a conversation with somebody in a dream that I'm like, that just felt too real to me. It's like to...
Yeah, the paranormal is. You know what? I wanted to ask you. Do you think that once you have that first experience, you're somehow open to others, whether it's your mind or whatever is there goes? Oh yeah, he or she is already. They're marked, so we can actually contact them.
I think I've always had a little bit of that. When I was a kid, I used to have lots of what we call premonitions. And I was pretty accurate to the point that other kids would tease me about it.
Oh, wow.
But they were stupid things. Like it was never really anything of value. Like so-and-so's going to come through here now, or I'm going to see so-and-so today, or so-and-so's going to phone, the phone rings,
Right.
It wasn't like I'm going to win $1 million if I pick these lottery numbers or anything useful.
Don't you wish?
Exactly. I remember one time, I think I was in grade 6 or 7. And I was in my bedroom and I was I had all these pictures of school friends up on my wall. And there was a group of 4 of them. And I just, for no reason, just started crying. Just felt like this incredible sense of loss. And by the next year, all 4 of them had moved away. So just stuff like that was a little bit weird. So I think I've always been kind of open to it. I don't know if once I've had one, I got better at it or not. But
right.
I've always been open to it, but not to the point like some people I know are true mediums and psychics, or they just see ghosts all the time. I'm totally not one of those people.
Right.
I'm no Hunter Shea.
Oh, please. Speaking of that, you are also a fantabulous writer, and you did something I don't see people do, where you released 3 books at the same time, right? Or is it 2?
Technically 2, but they're coming out from different. You know how it is. They're coming out from different publishers,
right?
So it seems like they're all coming out at once.
Yeah.
Press. I didn't know when that was going to come out. It's just like I'm on holidays. They're like, "Oh, how you like this link?" I'm like, "My book's up for sale." Like, thanks.
Yeah, I love that. You ask them ahead of time, "Hey, when is this coming out?" They give you some estimation, and then it's never what they tell you.
Yeah, it's like the next day. It's like, thanks.
You were kind enough to give me a copy of City of Ghosts. That I love that book, and kind of knowing your background, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is totally her." You know what I mean? Traveling and you're with your tour group. I'm like, you're pulling everything from real life experience. Why don't you tell folks about the books and where to find the books and where to find you and all the cool stuff you do?
Okay, well, I'll be on a creepy haunted island somewhere. No.
Long Island, New York.
I want to one day for sure.
Oh, you got to
Um,
come visit us. We're going somewhere with you. This is already foregone.
Exactly.
I want to see Hunter's house. I want to see this kid.
Come
That's
on in. He's all
that's.
yours.
Well, the books basically they're kind of. I never thought of this when I was writing them, but they're kind of got a little bit of an X-Files vibe where it's basically a guy who thinks he's going to be writing about the paranormal, even though he doesn't believe in it in the beginning. It's just a get-rich-quick scheme, basically. It's like, oh, it's easy to write a best-selling book. I'll just bang this off, and then I'll be rich and famous. I can travel forever. And I have met a lot of people like that, or just like, how do I write a book and become rich and famous? Like,
Yeah.
or I've written a book, like, make me famous. It's like, yeah, it's
Good luck, buddy.
exactly. So it starts out the first book. He's on this tour of China, and he like schemes to stay overnight in this ghost city where the Chinese actually do believe for real that ghosts live there. And he meets, of course, this strange woman who drags him into solving this mystery. But on his tour is this medium, Kate. So it's sort of like a reverse of X-Files. In my version, it's the woman who believes and the guy who really doesn't.
Yep.
And they make a great team. And in the second book, they, of course, go to Poveglia, and where she has to save a girl's soul that's been kidnapped by that deranged doctor I mentioned. So I made him a character in my book and fleshed him out quite a bit.
So now the first one's City of Ghosts, and what's the name of their next adventure?
The Girl Who Talks to Ghosts.
Oh, that sounds like my daughter. Or the girl who talks to monsters when she talks to me. Now, I'm going to tell everybody, your website, it's jhmoncrieff.com, am I right?
That's correct.
And that's Moncrieff with 2 Fs.
Yes.
Sign up for her newsletter because she has one of the best newsletters out there. Because you get, look, you're cringing, but really, I read your newsletter from top to bottom because she does a lot of true crime and a little bit of the paranormal here and there, and just it just hits all my favorite things that I love. And I know if you're watching Monster Men, these are the things you love too. So go to her website, sign up for the newsletter, and read her books. Or so help me God, Jack and I will come and punch you.
I will hunt you down and turn you into a ghost.
I'm just so touched that you would say that because I'm a huge fan of yours, and that means a lot to me. Thank you.
Trust me, I love your newsletter. I love your books. Oh, and the book that you wrote with Sam Hain, The Bear
Who Wouldn't Leave.
I almost said The Bear Who Knew Too Much.
That too. I think that's a different book, though. I don't think I can get the credit for that one.
There's your sequel. It's fine.
Okay, so I want to go back to, I want another story out of you. Because I don't know if it was before we turned on the recorder or not, you said you visited the most haunted forest in the world.
Oh, I was thinking we got to save that. That's a huge one.
You want to
Jack.
you want to have her on again?
I want to have you on again just to talk about the haunted forest.
Okay, sure. Although nothing haunted happened there, I just got really, really sick.
That works.
I got really sick, yeah. And there were weird things there for sure, like fog around one tree, but no other trees, and all the trees are deformed and weird, and there were definitely weird things there, but I didn't see a ghost.
Yeah, let's tease that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna have you back because the haunted forest creeped me out when I saw that.
Your homework for us is you got to go back, look through our old episodes. There's one where we go look for the White Lady of Easton Cemetery in Connecticut. It's a very famous haunted cemetery. The Warrens made a big deal out of it. So that's where we do our EVP and do all that. So you can see us do a little ghost. Actually, I tell a story from something that happened to me at that place. So that's your homework. I've got some books to read.
Sounds good.
I'm got to sign up for your newsletter now.
Oh, sign up.
Well, I do try to watch every episode. I think like I knew you. I met you quite a bit. Like you'd already done so many by the time I met you, so I probably haven't caught up. But I definitely try to watch them all now.
Don't watch the old ones. They're crap.
They're vintage. Come on, man.
Yeah, they're vintage. I'm sorry.
Vintage.
So yeah, thank you very much for coming on. I mean, this was phenomenal. Creepy. I actually got goosebumps at one point. So
really? Oh, that's
I did.
awesome. Thank you.
Listen, if you do come to the New York area, I'm buying the first round. I'll buy the second round.
Awesome. Well, I've got to meet Dawn too. Like, have to meet Dawn.
And
You
I-
got to meet Dawn, Jack. You haven't met Dawn.
Who's
Getting
Dawn?
to Don Diorio was
Oh,
our
Don.
editor.
Mhm.
Getting to Poveglia Island is easier than getting Don, but I'm your man. I'm your guide. I will get Don out.
Can we just knock him out or something and like kidnap him?
I know how to get him out. I know the lure. It's called martinis.
Well, and he's at a conference now. Did you see that? He's going to
Yeah.
be going at a conference. So I actually was tempted, but I'm like, I can't justify going there just to meet Don Daria, but I was close.
Seriously, if you come to New York, I'll make sure that we go meet Don.
Awesome. I am definitely going to. It's on the bucket list.
And
Put
we'll
it on the
find a
list.
haunted place to take you.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Well,
leave
there's
you.
lots. And the Warren Museum is near there too, right?
It's in their
Yeah.
house. Yeah, they live. I don't know if it's still open.
I
but
think her
it's-
nephew runs it now.
But listen, if we can get in there, that'd be a funny show. So
It
Yeah,
would be
that's-
funny, us making fun of the entire place.
Yeah. Oh, you don't believe in them?
I used to go to their lectures all the time in the 90s, and no. Not at all.
I met them, and Lorraine was talking about everybody's aura and all this stuff about how she could see auras and stuff. And my friend Ray just walks up and goes, "All right, well, what color's my aura then?" And she's like, "Well, I have to sit and she started making excuses for why she couldn't read his aura right there." And he just goes, you're full of crap," and he turned around and walked away.
Why didn't she just make something up?
I know.
Oh,
I was like, "Say orange or something." Come on, lady.
Yeah, I don't know.
who's going to like disprove that, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody. J.H. Moncrieff, jhmoncrieff.com. Sign up for the newsletter, buy her books. We threatened you already. I don't know how much more I can say.
Thank you so much. This has been great, and I can't wait for part 2.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're
I love
welcome.
you, John.
All right, we'll see everybody next time on
Monster Men.